Hey, let's talk about games.
Hello guys and girls, welcome to another video. It's Hydra here, and today I'm going to be doing a really tough video for you guys. I'm going to be talking about which class I think you might want to play tomorrow. Tomorrow is the launch of the game, it's the big day, it's the big hoo-ha, and we've all got to make that really tough choice as to which one of these happy three characters we want to play through the campaign with first. Now, some of you may have not played the game yet, so I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of a rundown as to my impressions of each class, what they offer and what they can excel at. Some of you guys may just be on the fence like myself, having played the game a lot, and I might be able to give you guys a few bits of inspiration as to how to make the choice. Invariably, some of us will have enough time to play all three, but the first playthrough is normally pretty special with these narrative-based games, so I think a little bit of thought needs to go into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight each one of these individually. Now first we're going to move on to the Crusader. If we highlight him here, it's a nice way to highlight some of his benefits and some of his playstyles. Now, this is the most tanky of the three characters. He is the best tank of all three. So for those of you that want to be a tank-orientated character, certainly a very safe pet to go with. That being said, he can still dish out plenty of melee damage, plenty of range damage. There is plenty of variety in terms of his gameplay. He is slightly slower than the other classes, but he can have his movement speed raised to ridiculous levels. He is also completely mobile in certain situations when you have the right weapon and an assault pack equipped, so really the variation is still there. Just keep in mind that he does have weapon-based skills, so instead of having something like the Psyker where you have interchangeable skills, you will instead be optimizing your weapons via the skill system, and you'll be optimizing your gameplay in terms of the perk system. I'll remember to check out some of the videos to understand that a little bit more. But overall the character is very versatile, however he does lack additional mechanics which the others bring, and thus he is the most simple character to play. He is the quote-unquote easiest to play, and he generally has the easiest and safest time in the early game campaign in particular, where you get a little bit more time to react. The extra health and the extra armor mitigation really sort of make your life a little bit easier. The voice actor's pretty good. It's a little bit cheesy sometimes as he lays it on a bit thick, but you know, he's big, he's stern, he sounds a bit like Barry White, and it's still a fun, pleasurable experience. In terms of what this character offers, if you're still a bit on the fence, I really feel he is the most grimdark, and if you like the slow, methodical nature that the game sometimes portrays, this character can certainly portray that the best. He really is encapsulating everything 40k, I think, for me, perhaps more than the other characters does, just via his power armor, via his general sort of demeanor. He, again, don't let that put you off though, he can be really mobile if you want him to be and if you choose to invest some points into it. Now let's take a little look at the Assassin, which is a little bit more complicated. Now the Assassin herself is a slightly more mobile character, again that can be melee, can be ranged, not a particularly great tank, but very capable in terms of being tanky at sort of mid to easy difficulties. Once you go up into the higher difficulty ranges, the lower health pool and the lower armor mitigation do make things tough. You can spec into a lot of dodge and mitigate quite a lot of damage, but again, once difficulty gets to a certain point, it's going to be pretty risky playing a melee. It depends on your comfort zones. In terms of playing the melee itself, it is very enjoyable. The animations are slightly more refined than the other characters I find, and they look a little bit more pleasing to the eye. It's also a lot quicker because many of her melee abilities have either 2 dashes or 1 dash. The occasional weapon doesn't have any, but then she also has her dodge roll, which adds another layer or another mechanic to the class. And this can either be the WASD key, or it can be the W key with a mouse in a certain direction, depending on which option you select. Now, this character has therefore a reactionary based sort of ability system. If you've played Vulcan, or if you've played Diablo 3 on console, you'll know what I mean. When an enemy's about to dodge you, if you want to dodge some damage, you can just press a button to do so and react to it. And if you like that sort of gameplay, if you like quicker gameplay, I would really suggest this lady. However, that being said, she's very capable at doing range damage. She has some quite nice skills and some quite good perks as well, and she's very capable of dishing damage out with her specialist sniper weapons, which she has in place of their Crusader's heavy weapons instead. So she goes for the more fast moving kiting orientated, but that being said, you could quite easily make builds for her that revolve around taking cover and taking sort of aim shots from a long distance. Or you could even make her, I don't know, a little bit more tanky at range and better at dealing with firefights, but don't presume that she's melee only. She's very, very capable at range. In terms of the voice actress, I do think she's completely fine. I feel that she's quite stern, quite authoritative. Some people will find her fairly sultry. Me, myself, I am generally a fan of a female sort of protagonist, so I'm actually going to be playing the assassin this time. I'm a little bit biased because I really like the voice actress. I think she's nailed it for me. What I'll do is play you 10 seconds of each right now so you can hear it for yourself and make your own mind up.
Inquisitor's log. Classified report. Scheduled for later transmission. I am closing on the source of the inquisitorial distress signal I was assigned to investigate.
The signal is coming from a battered fortress monastery. It got through the warp surges with considerable loss of data, and my astropath has been unable to decipher it.
I am closing on the source of the inquisitorial distress signal I was assigned to investigate. It has an ancient encryption used by the Holy Orders. It's authentic, but extremely old. The intensity of the Caligari warp searches is beyond anything I've experienced.
And now we move on to the last character, the Psyker, probably the most complex to talk about. Many will be a big fan of the Psyker because he has interchangeable skills, much like many other ARPGs that you might be used to. He's got 4 different trees and each one of those has either 6 or 8, I forget, abilities in there, so there's quite a few combinations to pick from. The interchangeability makes you feel like you have a little bit more control over the character and you will unlock them through time, and of course more may be added in future. There's also staffs, there's single-handed staffs, there's also some pistols as well. There are a few different options, but generally speaking most people are going to be fulfilling a quote-unquote caster role. Now you do also have access to more buffs than the other classes, and this is certainly something, if you like to be a buffer, either buffing yourself or an ally, this is certainly going to be the class for you because it's the only class that can do it. He can't necessarily heal others, but he can mitigate quite a large chunk of damage by casting some of these abilities. These may include the range bubble of ignorance, as I like to call it, which really reduces a lot of range damage. He can also buff by giving people a spare life. He can give people damage reduction. He can give everyone a range reduction, etc. There are no party-wide buffs, so just be aware. His buff limitation is that he can only give 1 buff to 1 ally at the moment, so that's something to bear in mind. In terms of his actual abilities, they are fairly varied. You will find, however, due to certain, let's say the balance situation, is you will be funneled more towards the pyromancy tree naturally because it's just a hell of a lot better than a lot of the others. Some of the other trees do have some useful abilities, some are very situational, and it can lead to some pretty interesting and janky builds, but one of the things that put me off of this character, even though I think he is very good, is that I often find that a lot of builds I want to try making just aren't quite working for me and aren't quite as enjoyable. While the interchangeable skill system is very attractive, I actually find I have more variety available to me with the other classes at times. But of course everyone's experiences will differ, and I would advise you to sort of make up your own mind with this. The other thing I would talk about is the guy's heat mechanic, and this is something that's very tough to get your head wrapped around because it's not a simple case in this game when you run out of mana. Let's say it's not mana, it's you generate heat within this game, but it's not a case of when you say run out or max your resource that you can't cast anymore. You can in this game, only you're probably going to start killing yourself and others around you as you summon warp anomalies, and these will generally try and run around, chase you, bite your bum, or you'll summon a demon. Occasionally you might get lucky and summon a AoE effect on the ground that will give you more damage, but you do have to be prepared with this character if you're going to abuse the mechanic and spam abilities that basically shouldn't really be spammed because they're so powerful. You will find yourself getting in hairy predicaments, so if you're finding that watching resource bars while playing an ARPG is not quite your bag, you will probably struggle with this guy. He does require a close eye or a lot of investment to counter this mechanism to make it work for him. It is something that can be worked with once you've got a few perks. You can actually make the high heat levels work in your favour by dealing extra damage and summoning more helpful warp anomalies than harmful, but it takes quite a while to spec into this. But safe to say this guy is more or less the glass cannon of the group, although he can be very tanky as well given certain abilities, but his damage potential at late game probably does outshine all of the other classes. Of course, this may be subject to balance changes, but he is definitely a character worth considering if you like that high risk, high reward, and it is very, very high risk with this character because you can kill yourself and others, but he is pretty good fun to do so. So guys, that's my wrap up of these characters and what I feel that they bring to the table. What I'd suggest you guys do is leave me some comments down below, and for others too, as to which character you're picking and why. Which guy do you like and why? I've done a little bit of a, what do you call it, a questionnaire, or a questionnaire within, or no, sorry, a survey. I've done a survey within my cabal. By far, Crusader is in the lead. Second place we have Assassin, and third place we have Psyker, which surprises me. I was honestly expecting the interchangeable skills to win a lot of people over. However, a lot of people just like the vibe of the Crusader. It's hard to put your finger on. Quite a few Assassins because they like the maneuverability. And most people that play the Psyker, in general, like so because of the buffs, the debuffs, and being able to sort of see those effects manifest on their character. Guys, let me know down in the comments what you want to play with and why. Let's help each other make this choice, because it's a tough one. And guys, I'll see you tomorrow for the actual launch day hype. See you then.